Hello everyone, GoldenNova here. Legacy of Destruction recently released in the OCG, which means it's time to start covering old themes that got support, as well as new archetypes from this core set. We'll be doing the latter today, featuring a theme that looks to bring games to a swift and decisive end with overwhelming force, taking inspiration both from MahJong and a random synchro monster from the 5Ds era. How in the world could those two things possibly fit together? Well, I'm glad I asked you asking me that. Let's set up our tiles to get this game started, assemble them together to get our winning hand, then see what other combinations can bring us a brilliant victory. It's time to open the Dora to Destiny with Tenpai Dragons Explained. Today's episode is brought to you by my lovely patrons, as well as the wonderful people over at Dragon Shield. Get the sleeves as strong as dragon scales and save 5% on your order by using coupon code GoldenNova at checkout. So, what's the deal with the Tenpai Dragons? Well, they're a series of fire attribute dragon-type monsters. I know, the name has dragons in it, but in Yu-Gi-Oh, you can never take that for granted. And they all have 1,000 defense. Not that they'll need it very much, because their main goal is to basically live in the battle phase. Many of their effects prevent the downsides of combat, and even get you advantage as you fight, all revolving around battle phase synchro summoning, using itself as material. But unlike how this usually gets used, it's not during your opponent's battle phase, it's any battle phase, meaning you can attack in with them, sync afterwards, then attack with your new monster all in the same phase. And it's a soft once per turn, which may not seem like much since they'll be leaving the field after you use it as material, but trust me, it comes up. Tenpai Dragon by Dora is a level 3 monster with 1700 attack, and if this card is normal or special summoned, you can take a Sangen Spell or Trap card from your deck and either add it to your hand or set it to your field. And while on the field, you take no battle damage from battles involving fire dragon monsters. So, what's a Sangen? Don't worry about it, you'll spoil the surprise. Our favorite fuzzy little three-eyed friend is not going to be involved in this deck. The important part is that this gets you your non-monster support while keeping you from taking any damage. You know, just a little something to help you get by Dora. Tenpai Dragon Dora is a level 3 monster with 1600 attack, and if normal or special summoned, or at the start of the damage step, if a monster battles, you can target a level 4 or lower fire dragon monster in your grave and special summon it. And while on the field, your fire dragon monsters can't be destroyed by battle. This one requires a bit more setup, but does get our Tenpai Dragons out of the graveyard to help with your synchro summoning. For instance, let's say you have a tuner in grave that you can summon. You can have Dora crash into a monster, survive because of its battle destruction protection, scoop up that monster, then perform that battle phase synchro summon. And if you have Dora as well, that's even better, you won't even take any damage. It may just be a battle phase, but this certainly is no passing Dora. Tenpai Dragon MahJong Dora is a level 4 tuner monster, finally, with 1500 attack, and if you control a fire dragon monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. At the start of the damage step, if a monster battles, you can special summon a level 4 or lower fire dragon monster from your deck, except a copy of this card. So you can pair this with any of your on-theme monsters, dropping this out of your hand to prep for a synchro summon. But it gets even better than that. Even if MahJong Dora stands alone, it can attack without fear, because once you get to the start of the damage step, you can summon any of your on-theme monsters, including Dora. Once it lands, now you benefit from that battle destruction immunity, so you get to keep MahJong Dora. Dora will then bring out a valid target from the grave if any, and congrats! You now have material for a level 7 synchro. And if Dora can get by Dora, then you can even ignore the damage you would take from that, and now you might be starting to see how these three link together, forming a trio of dragons that chain themselves together onto the field to secure a win. Make sure you learn all their fundamentals, and you'll be just fine. Alright, that's all the Tenpai Dragons, but what do we do with them? Well, we pull a dastardly double cross because we're not done yet. This is also Sangen Explained! And what's the deal with Sangen? Well, they're a series of fire attribute dragon type synchro monsters that mesh very well with the Tenpai Dragons. They require dragon tuners and non-tuners as material, and if 3 or more attacks have been declared during a turn as a quick effect, they can special summon themselves from the grave once per duel, and come with a little extra effect when they do so. And to strengthen the MahJong connection, each of their names refers to a combination of tiles that determine your hand's value, kinda like in poker. You could also consider this to be DRAGION explained, but we'll get into that in just a bit. For now, let's begin our journey with Sangen Rise Dragon Bident Dragion, a level 7 tuner monster with 2600 attack and 2000 defense, and if this card is synchro summoned, you can target a fire dragon monster in your grave and special summon it. Also, you can't special summon monsters for the rest of the turn except dragon monsters. And if you revive this with its 3 attacks and 1 turn effect, you get to destroy a spell or trap card on the field, and trust me when I say, that's going to become very good. The main idea is that you use Zhongdor and either of your level 3s to make this, using its on summon effect to bring back one of those 3. Maybe get some extra attacks in, then use the quick sync effect of your smaller monster to turn these into a level 10 dragon. And if you need even more damage, you can then bring this back out of your grave for an additional 26 if you've met that attack threshold. The Dragon Lock does mean you can't access super powerful generic synchros like Barone, but trust me, we've got some great level 10 dragons to work with. But it may be a good idea to keep Thunder Dragons as far away from Sangen as possible. We're starting to tread dangerously close to their design ideas. And some of that fire just looks like lightning, you know? Sangen Super Dragon Transcend Dragion is a level 10 monster with 3000 attack and defense, and if this card is synchro summoned, you can change all monsters on the field to attack position, and all of your opponent's monsters must attack if able. Also, your opponent can't activate cards or effects during the battle phase. And if you revive it with its 3 attacks effect, you can destroy any card on the field. That's right, nothing will hide behind their walls when this hits board. While this does open up your opponent's board for damage, it's almost more devastating on your opponent's turn. If they go to battle without thinking about it, you can drop this on them and force all of your opponent's monsters to run into this over and over again, and even keeping them from responding with anything since they can't use effects during the battle phase. Now, you aren't going to be able to sync this with any of your current monsters to get this into the graveyard to set up its summon effect, but don't worry, we've got another way to make the most of that. Also, I think I found my new favorite card name. I hope this does get meta and the name stays particularly long in the TCG, so color commentators have to say Sangen Super Dragon Transcend Dragion over and over again. And now, for the reason this is all technically legacy support. Premiering all the way back in the May 2009 core set Raging Battle, Trident Dragion is a level 10 monster with 3000 attack and 2800 defense that must be synchro summoned and cannot be summoned by other ways. When this card is synchro summoned, you can target up to 2 other cards you control. Destroy them, and if you do, for each destroyed card, this card gains an additional attack during each battle phase this turn. So the idea is to make Super Dragon as stated previously, and from there, you'll have at least one level 3 as well as Bident in the grave. If you revive Bident, then you use the level 3's Quick Sync effect, you can make this, and pop Super Dragon as well as one more card, go in for 3 attacks all by itself, and if that doesn't do it, you can summon back that Super Dragon you blew up, and even pop a threat if you're so inclined. Honestly, this card is very strong. It just never had a home that could play to its strengths. Until now. But with this newfound family, Trident Dragion is about ready to lay out the 3-step program for your opponent's demise. Alright, that's all the monsters, now it's time for the spells. Sangen Kaimen is a quick play spell card that has you activating one of 2 effects if activated outside the battle phase. If activated during the battle phase, apply any of them in sequence. Add a level 4 or lower fire dragon monster from your deck to your hand, or special summon a fire dragon monster from your hand. So this is effectively another copy of any of your Tenpai Dragons. Just go to the battle phase, activate this, and there you go, you might as well just be special summoning them directly from your deck. And Bidora just grabs this for you, essentially making it full combo by itself. It's honestly disgusting. Kaimen is the term for the dealing of opening hands, and boy howdy, if you get Bidora, then you're opening up the best one. Look, Zhongdor is literally crawling out of a tile to come kick your opponent's butt for you. What more do you want? Brimming Sangen Manor is a field spell card that keeps your fire dragons from being affected by your opponent's activated effects during your main phase 1 only. During your main phase, you can add a Tenpai Dragon monster from your deck to your hand, then discard a card. And if this card is destroyed during the battle phase, you can target a Dragon Synchro monster you control, and its attack becomes doubled. So, the field spell gets you Bidora, which means you have even more 1-card combos, with this one being an even stronger variant. I'll go into exact detail once we reach the combo section, but it's not the end of the world if you don't start with this. But when you do, boy howdy, this manor is really gonna bring the house down. Alright, now that we have all the cards present and accounted for, let me show you how you can absolutely crush your opponent going second with just one card. Brimming Sangen Manor, which also means terraforming gets us there too. Though you do need 2 cards if you count the discard. Activate the Manor, using its effect to get Baidora in hand, then you discard a card. Normal summon the Baidora, getting you Sangen Kaimen. Then, go right to the battle phase. Use it to add Zhongdora from deck to hand, then special summon it. Attack whatever you want with Zhong, activating its effect to get Fadora onto the field. Attack with Baidora and Fadora to get your attack count up. Remember, you won't lose anything to battle because of Fadora, and you won't lose life points because of Baidora. Then, use Baidora's Quick Sync effect to tune with Zhongdora to make Bite It, using its effect to get back Baidora. Attack with your 2 new monsters if need be, then use Baidora's effect again. Remember, they're only soft once per turns on that one, syncing with Bite It to make Super Dragon. By this point, you probably have enough power to punch through just about anything. But we aren't done yet. Use Biden's Grave effect, you've attacked more than enough by now, to get it onto the field, then use Fadora's Quick Sync to tune them together to make Trident Dragion. On summon, destroy both Super Dragon and Manor. This sets up Super Dragon for its own revival effect, picking off 1 more card if your opponent still has a blocker up, and with Manor's battle phase destruction, you can double Trident's attack, giving you a triple attacking 6k monster, plus another attack from Super Dragon at 3k. If we factor in an additional revival of Baidora out of the grave using Fadora's effect, which isn't necessary for this combo, all this damage totals up to 36,400. That's enough damage to make someone lose 4 whole games off of a single card! Alright, so that's all of our Tenpais and our Dragions, but what do we do with them? Well, I think we pretty succinctly covered that just now. You want to punch in for the whole kit and caboodle. And with how few on-theme cards we have to run, that means we have room for a ton of non-engine. With a core of 3 mana, 3 Baidora, and 1 of every other card, including the extra deck ones, we have upwards of 30 main deck slots and 12 extra deck slots to mess around with, which we can fill with hand traps, board breakers, and the odd going first card. Dear lord, do we need to have some going first cards. So what can we play to help them out? First off, our theme has a ton of cards that support fire dragons in general. The question is, how many of those are out there that we want to actually pull from? And sadly, there aren't many. Of the level 4 and lowers we can affect with cards like Kaimen and Fadora, which only number 20 currently in the TCG, the only ones I'd say are worth considering are Burner, Dragon Ruler of Sparks, largely to get its big buddy Blaster, and Flamvel Guard, which can help get us some nifty levels for Synchro Summoning. Outside of that, we have Burning Dragon, which can effectively turn a spell or trap card in your hand into Heavy Storm, but is only deployable for free if your opponent has 2 or more monsters. Alternatively, we can summon it right out of our hand with Kaimen's second effect, which isn't unheard of, but it's certainly not optimal. Now, this pool may expand in the future. I wouldn't be surprised if after they made a bunch of Fire Dragon support, they printed more Fire Dragons, so keep an eye out. What about some alternative level 10 Dragon Synchros, since you'll likely be locked into that because of Bident? Bestial Dispater is a pretty popular pick, but you may not have any lights or dark monsters to banish, so you'll be relying on your opponent to get cards banished for you to use its effects. But a really stupendous one, especially when going first, has to be Black Winged Assault Dragon, since it needs a Synchro Tuner, Bident, and 1 or more non-tuners. And Baidora still gets you there all by itself. All you gotta do is summon it to search out Kaimen, then play it to search Zhongdora from deck to hand. Now you're not going to be in the battle phase at this point because you're going first, so you can't special summon it using its effect, but Zhongdora has its own effect to do that for you. Then you sync for Bident, using its effect to summon Baidora, then you sync again, and voila! You've got your very own Tax Dragon that can also board wipe if your opponent isn't careful. And speaking of going first, we'll want to try and add as many cards that work well going first or second, so we can maximize our good hands no matter how the dice fall. Infinite Impermanence has been a staple because of this for a reason, so we're going to be playing that at 3. Forbidden Chalice works in a similar manner, though isn't quite as good going second, and similarly, Forbidden Lance can answer spell and trap interaction. But perhaps the best is Forbidden Droplets. With all your spare cards, you'll have everything you need to keep your opponent's effects at bay. And no matter what you add to fight back against your opponent, Prosperity is going to work wonders for you. I mean, you do so much damage over the course of a single turn that even a pre-battle phase resolution may still cause your opponent lethal damage. As for a silly tech pick, we've got Decoy Dragon! well, any level 2 non-tuner fire dragon will do. A decoy is just simultaneously the funniest and most useful, because you can tune it with MahJong to make Muddy Mud Dragon, and as long as you've got any other Tenpai Dragon on board, you can fuse it for Red Eye's Dark Dragoon. You don't get any removal because you didn't use any normal monsters, but we're just here for the negate anyway, and the damage will come soon enough. And if worse comes to worse, you can just normal summon Decoy and sit on it while you have a bunch of scary dragons just waiting in the grave. Alright, that's all the info I have on Tenpai and Sangen, but how does it stack up against the Nova scale? Novelty. Well, as I said at the beginning, there's never quite been a deck that lets you synchro summon during your own battle phase. It very much reminds me of quick play fusion spells, and you can get a lot of damage through when shuffling your monsters around like that. That being said, it really is just a synchro flavored version of that strategy, with its claim to fame being punching with a lot of big attacks. I don't know, it's cool, but doesn't really do much outside the box, though I admit the needing 3 attacks effect on synchros is pretty nifty and on flavor. This deck gets a 2 in novelty. Objectivity. This theme very much feels like it's about to get out of hand. With so much spare room to work with, it can pivot to just about any suite of counters it could ever want, or act as a supplemental engine to another deck looking to add a lot of damage at low investment. That's not unheard of. We've seen themes like Adventure wind up complementing other decks. The only question remains, is raw damage enough to be considered as a tech? This duelist says yes, so I'm giving them a 4 in objectivity. Versatility. And along that line, its capacity for splashability is super high. Any deck that locks you out of using synchros is of course not going to find much use for these, but outside that, giving anyone a big powerful push for game is a tantalizing temptation I'm sure few will be able to resist, giving them a 3 in versatility. Awesomeness. While the method to their menace may be tried and true, their presentation is awesome. A MahJong-inspired combat deck centered around dragons that attack and deal massive damage while resurrecting a long-since-forgotten synchro monster? Sorry folks, it's just peak. I'm giving this theme a 5 in awesomeness, putting them at a 14 out of 20 on the Nova scale. And that's all I have to say about Tenpai Dragons and Sangen. I have very high hopes for this deck, and with more releases sure to come, things are only looking up. Keep an eye out for these MahJong menaces in a few months, cause they will not be taking any prisoners. And I need to get started on brushing up my knowledge so I'll be able to keep up with all the references, which means that's just another excuse to play more Yakuza! But now, I want to hear what you all have to say. Are Tenpai Dragon the next best splash theme since Orchest? Or is the hype as overblown as their attack stats? And which one's your favorite? Old school Trident Dragion is where it's at for me, not gonna lie. The others are cool but feel a little too busy. Let me know your favorites down below, and if you haven't already, please be sure to like the video if you liked it, subscribe so you don't miss a future episode, and be sure to share this video with somebody you know who loves Yu-Gi-Oh! It really does a lot to help me out. Today's episode is brought to you by my patrons, as well as the wonderful people over at Dragon Shield. Get the sleeves as strong as dragon scales and save 5% on your order by using the coupon code GoldenNova at checkout. Today's episode was also brought to you by my lovely patrons, including this month's illustrious Quasar Commanders Sir Knight JCB and the Critic of Innocence, Nebula Navigator's 3rd Dynasty, Ada Basilisk, Adam Zajdel, Andrew Newman, Kane Senpai, Christopher Fuss, Clockswork, Dark Dragon X830, Emily Chan, Eric, Aaron the World Breaker, Frankie, Garland Chaos, Green Knight, Gloomba 331, Great Big Pillock, Hairbear, Harry the Ominous Benefactor, Howling Zangetsu, Iron Zero, Iskander 711, Carp, Mana Charge, Marion James E. Picata, Mega Combi, Millennia Asta, Muzuki Clark, Nathan Vig, Natiel Lee Alexander, Orozco 09096, Panther J, Rebel King Lucifer, Red Eyes Jackalow, RJ the Jank Monarch, Sammy Haim, Serenity Towns, Skybuster Leo, That One Dumbass and the Wizard Moose, Cosmic Crusaders Alpha Sly, Almento 5010, A Random Pup, Ariel Kersey, Beluga Master, Blitzwolf, Blue Gem, Borger with a Shotgun, Callum McCann, Jazz Ghost, Childish Lamar, Dr. Reaper RIP, Drachenwald, Eki Bullock, Eva Padilla, Hike Boyagian, Herbal D, Ignis Heat the True Draco Slayer, Inblink, Jester Designs, Jordan Vic, Kale the Dragon, Kevon Public, King Scarlet Yu-Gi-Oh!, Kim Smiley Face, Lemon Yu-Gi-Oh!, Lord Whoop-De-Doo, Manga Pages, Marluxia is a Girl, Matt Simmons, McSpoofy, Michael Shimabukuro, Misty, Nitromo, Shizuki Nijimura, Sophie, apparently, Stephen Williamson, Taylor Seymour, the legendary Raven, and Zal Dreka, as well as the wonderful Starlight Explorers you see on screen now. If you'd like to help me in my journey to cover all of Yu-Gi-Oh's archetypes, get my videos early, be a part of these credits and other awesome perks, it would mean the world to me if you would check out the link to my Patreon in the description or consider joining as a YouTube member. And if you'd like to see some more dragons that make our opponent's pain our gain, make sure to check out this video where I cover all of Jack Atlas's cards, including all those vicious dragons. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Which we can fill with hand traps, board breakers, and a big old belch. I'm so mad the script autocorrected to Fedora. My battle phase. Anyway, Fedora will... No.